Hi, I'm Allan Taylor. Welcome to another episode of BLockBlaze. Like a lot of us, obviously I was into Lego as a kid, like heavily so. I never had like a huge amount, but my sets never stayed built. They were always broken down. So I was basically, doing MOCs back then, though we didn't have a reference for it. Grew up, still an avid collector of other toys. I've done Nerf guns and other action figures. And then, a little while ago, about 3 years ago, my daughter was, she saw Lego Dimensions, and she really wanted to play that. So we got that. We started building the portal together, and I started remembering, Lego as a kid, that was my thing. Lego Dimensions is a multi-platform toys to life game. You get a pad that you plug into your console. You then you buy packs. You get different characters. They have ID tags or electronic tags, and you pop them on the board, and they drop into the game. So what makes Dimensions particularly unique, and I think what was the hook for us as a family, for me, is the fact that you don't just get pre-built representations of Lego figures. You get the bits to build them. It makes it interactive. It's basically getting that therapeutic element out subconsciously or subliminally for kids. They don't actually realize, but it's that tactile response you don't get from just having like a statuette with a digital ID. I honestly think that excitement, man. It was like before I started collecting, before I started sort of building seriously, that excitement of getting a new Dimensions pack and rattling it and hearing that Lego rattle, opening the plastic packets and like, wow, like bits, and that I think is part of the magic. It's what sells it. It actually is a Lego product. Started looking at other things that were out there, reclaimed all of my Lego that she was holding on to from when I was a kid, did a couple of MOCs and things, thinking, what could I design now with a more adult sort of mind, as opposed to what I could design when I was a kid, and came up with some things, ran out of parts pretty quickly, and then started thinking about the potential. Immediately, what was apparent was I was going through quite a rough patch, and my wife said that when she saw me sort of doing these designs and working through the kits and the instructions, like it was some of the only time she would see me smile, and I realized that with all the things I was dealing with, and I am diagnosed with depression, all the work stresses and all the rest, like it became apparent to me that I got a disconnect from everything else that was going on when I got lost in that puzzle, sometimes, especially with the MOCs, trying to get often I'll take just two pieces and put them together at an angle and say, well, that's the angle I want. So how do I get there? And that little puzzle is distracting enough to really just take my mind off like everything that's going on. And it's helped me as a coping mechanism with impulse control disorder, aggressive tendencies, all sorts of things. So yeah. So my particular building style, there's a few things that I find fascinating about Lego. And from a visual kind of design aesthetic, I like the fact that you can represent pretty much anything from extreme beauty and awesomeness to some really dark stuff. You can as an artistic medium, it's fantastic. And then from a functional perspective, the fact that it's engineered to such a fine degree allows you to, like, I like practical applications of Lego, like in my life. Some of the first stuff I built was sort of storage containers and that kind of thing that I could use as a practical application. And then obviously an extension of that is modular building. For me, when I discovered the concept of modular, the modular style, that just blew my mind, because I thought, okay, well there's the issue I've been facing with the wasted space. I'll build a building and it's just an empty shell. Whereas if I can build things modular, for rebuilds, it's amazing, because you can rebuild a particular section, as opposed to have to break down the entire model to rebuild. And then obviously for just added detail, to be able to take bits apart and expose other parts of the insides of a model, that just seemed to make sense. So everything I build, pretty much, like I do a fair amount of minifigs for the Dark Army. I like doing custom figures and stuff, but everything I build that's structural, whether it's vehicular or architectural, I definitely always build modular now. First big MOC that I envisioned was like an ultimate bat cave. I started buying bits specifically for that. Started getting a lot of black, a lot of grey. That has not really come to fruition much. It's still very much in the beginning stages. I did some Batman vehicular mocks and stuff, but the Batcave never really happened. Then that was when I started learning about the modular style, and I started rebuild. So that led to eventually I built Castle Rasta, which was just a base for the Lego Dimensions figures. So it was meant to just a display stand for that, effectively. So I built this castle. The first build was not modular. Second rebuild was modular. It grew in scale, and I wanted to expand, and I envisioned this like black kind of baroque towers on top as a sort of not really true scale, just kind of representation of. And the Black Cathedral happened, which was obviously also completely modular. That was an amazing build to do. It took a while, but it's an ongoing process still. But that was I'm very happy with the results I'm getting there. Then obviously the Black Cathedral, I had all this extra castle space, and I needed troops. I needed things to be populating that. So the Dark Army kind of started happening. I got really sidetracked with that. I did a lot of custom figs and units, and spent a lot of time thinking about factions and designing the actual army. And then recently that led to my next large modular build, which was in January. I did, it's basically a cyber mutant pirate ship, which I just wanted to do a ship. I wanted to do a boat this whole time, and a friend of mine got me the hull bits, and it was my January project. It was my latest large modular that I've put together. You have to talk about the sorting, what system. Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
So my sorting system has evolved. It continues to evolve. It has evolved from, a very small amount I needed to manage to a fairly large amount now. I didn't want to overcommit to a particular system though. As far as the practical solution goes, everyone knows those black drawers with the big ones and the two ones. Those are the ones. You can't go wrong. Those can accommodate any system. Obviously, I use a selection of other sorting trays and containers and all the rest, depending on the bulk of the parts. But that's a constant challenge. It's one of the things I like to talk about. I love the fact that it is part of the conversation. Across all platforms, electronic and whenever we're together, if you get two card-carrying Lego nerds together in a room, 50% of the conversation is going to be like what storage you're using. I love participating in that conversation. I love to learn from people. What are they doing? Because it is a constantly evolving thing. And for my system, I'm happy to cherry pick and to use reclassifications or whatever I can pick up from other people to learn. So I feel like that's part of the process. You have to do whatever works for you. It's very dependent on style. For instance, I use a lot of black. I use a lot of grey. Those bits are classified by type. I've got type, black and grey. All the rest of my bits will be classified, clustered together by type exclusively. So it's that type of all other colors, depending on the bits. But you have to have a system that can adapt for whatever you need. Right, so thanks for watching another episode of BLockBlaze. If you like this episode, you know what you have to do. You have to click on the subscribe, click on the like, give it the old thumbs up. Have a good one.